Hey everyone, welcome back. I've got a couple of quick updates that I want to talk about. And one of them is a complaint. And it's not really a complaint for me because it doesn't really bother me all that much, but it's a complaint that a lot of people are levying at Stadia right now. And that is, what resolution are these games running at? Phil Harrison, back on October 8th, told us in this tweet, yes, all games at launch support 4K. We designed Stadia to enable 4K 60 with appropriate TV and bandwidth. We want all games to play 4K 60. But sometimes, for artistic reasons, a game is 4K 30. So Stadia always streams at 4K 60 via a 2x encoder. What that means is they're running the game at 4K 30, but they encode every frame twice and they send them to you twice. So you get 60 frames per second technically, but it's not really 60 frames per second. It's really 30 frames per second. You're just seeing all of the frames two times. And I don't know why they would do that. Why wouldn't they just cut down on bandwidth? But that's beside the point. That's not really what we're here to talk about. Upon launch, when the games came out, people were noticing, hold on, hold the phone. This doesn't look as good as it should. This is supposed to be 4K, and I'm going to talk mostly about Destiny 2 because that's the one that I have the most experience with, and I know that Red Dead Redemption 2 is running into this same kind of thing, but I haven't played that game. I'm not interested in playing that game, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But Destiny 2 is currently running this is what people have figured out, is that Destiny 2 is running at 1080p, and then they are upscaling it to 4K, which basically means it's kind of like the 2x encode. Not exactly the same thing, but they're taking every pixel and quadrupling it so that they have four of them where there should be one in order to get that 4K stream. Now, are they giving us a 4K stream? Technically, yes, they are. If we have chosen the right thing on our phone, you can change what your games are streaming at. You can pick 720p, 1080p, or 4K with HDR. So technically, are they sending us 4K? Yes, they are. But the game is not running at 4K. It's running at 1080p. And a lot of people, myself included, are wondering why. Now, many people are very angry about this and they want to know why. And I'm not angry about it because I'll be honest, I really don't care as long as the game is fun. I talked about this a little bit on yesterday's episode of Stadiacast. Go back and check it out if you haven't already. But it doesn't really bother me. I don't care about resolution. I don't care about frame rate. All I want is the game to look nice, run at a stable frame rate. I don't care if it's 30 or 60, and be fun. And I'm happy with that. But I also understand that there's a lot of people who are not happy with that. And it feels like they have pulled the rug out from under us because it's right here that they are that all games at launch support 4K. So how is it that Google is getting away with this? Well, technically they are delivering us 4K, even if it's not what we envisioned as 4K. We were all envisioning that the games would be running at 4K and that we would be seeing them at 4K, which would mean it would look a lot better. The visuals would be much improved compared to what we're looking at right now. There are places like 9 to 5 Google who are saying, Google, you're lying about this, and that is not okay. And Google responded to them. So they responded, and here is their. Sorry, my Google Home device just went off. They said basically Google's lying about this, and they need to respond. And Google did respond, and here's what they had to say. Again, this comes to us from 9 to 5 Google, and I'll put a link in the description down below. It says here, Stadia streams at 4K and 60 frames per second. And that includes all aspects of our graphics pipeline from the game to the screen. GPU, encoder, and Chromecast Ultra, all outputting at 4K to 4K TVs with the appropriate internet connection. Developers making Stadia games work hard to deliver the best streaming experience for every game. Like you see on all platforms, this includes a variety of techniques to achieve the best overall quality. We give developers the freedom of how to achieve the best image quality and frame rate on Stadia, and we are impressed with what they have been able to achieve for day one. Okay, so first off, I'm going to get to the second half of this in just a second, but the first half of this is basically saying, look, we give the developers the option. You can make your game at 4K, you cannot make it at 4K, but we're saying if you want to, you can. So technically, all games have the ability to run at 4K. I don't know how I feel about this as an explanation because, I mean, technically, I can make any game run at 4K on a PS4 Pro. The game might run like crap, but it would be at 4K. So yeah, I get the fact that they're saying, look, it's not really on us, it's on the developers, because they're saying all games can support 4K. Although he said really specifically here, yes, all games at launch support 4K. I feel like we're talking about two different things. They're talking about, yeah, it's going to be a 4K stream. Does that mean the game is running at 4K? Not necessarily. And do people have a leg to stand on to say, hey, this is not cool, you're not delivering on what you promised? Yes, I believe so. However, I also understand, and I hope that a lot of people understand this as well. A lot of the games that we're looking at are ports. And when you're porting a game, it's much more difficult to hit the right frame rates than it is if you're making a game on a system that's brand new. Making a game brand new on a system is what I meant to say. So here's what I mean by that. If you're making a game for a system that's been around for a while, and this is a brand new game and you're making it specifically for that system, it's easier for the developers to hit higher frame rates and higher resolutions than it is before because they've had all this time to learn from what they've done before. With Stadia, it's brand new, and a lot of the developers are dealing with this hardware for the first time. Well, I guess all of the developers are dealing with this hardware for the first time, and they haven't learned all of the tricks that they have to do in order to optimize everything to give us that 4K 60 experience that we are expecting, that we should expect because Google told us that. Again, this comes down to Google falling down on messaging. I think almost everybody that I've talked to who has played Stadia has said it's been a ridiculously good experience. And I, for one, think it's been a fantastic experience. I played Destiny 2 last night, and we did the end of the Red War campaign. Don't worry, I'm not going to do any spoilers. We did the end of the Red War campaign. Me and two other people who helped me, we were going through, and it was beautiful. We had a blast. Of course, I'm playing on a 1080p screen in front of me, but it was absolutely an incredible time. I had so much fun, and it was super easy and super quick to set up and turn on and get going, and there was no load times, and it was fantastic. It was a wonderful experience, but it wasn't 4K. It was 1080p upscaled to 4K, and then, of course, downscaled back to 1080p because I'm playing on a 1080p screen. So at the end of the day, I do feel like Google said something that was not true, and that is not okay. That being said, it is on the developers to make their game run at the highest resolutions that they can. So, and that's basically what Google is saying here. They go on to say, we expect that many developers can, and in most cases will, continue to improve their games on Stadia. And because Stadia lives in our data centers, developers are able to innovate quickly while delivering even better experiences directly to you without the need for game patches, game patches or downloads. And I think that this is a very good point. Look, these developers are still learning how the system works. And as time goes on, they're going to get better and better at it. And big companies like Bungie and Rockstar, these are companies that support games for long periods of time, especially like Rockstar. Look at what Rockstar is doing with Grand Theft Auto 5. That game has been around forever, and they're still making new content for it. I completely anticipate that Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be updated and eventually will run on Stadia at 4K 60 once the developers learn more about it. I feel like this is something, and the same can be said for Destiny, in my opinion. I feel like this is something that we can link directly to, and we'll talk about links in just a second, but I feel like this is something that we can link directly to. I feel like this was rushed. Do I think that that's bad? I don't know. I'm playing the games and I'm having a blast, so I guess I'm okay with it. But I do feel like a lot of the developers were rushed to hit that finish line. And I don't have any inside information, but a lot of the developers, I'm guessing, were rushed to hit that finish line and get their game launched on launch day. And because they were rushed, they had to cut corners. And I bet you that they are still plugging away behind the scenes to improve. And Google's right. We don't have to download any patches. I don't know if you could hear it, but my Google Home Assistant just said cool. We don't have any patches. We don't have any downloads. So over time, these games are just going to get better and better over time. And yes, that can happen on other platforms, but it also brings in like huge downloads, and it's a huge pain. And that's going to be a pain point that we don't have to put up with on Stadia. All right. Speaking of things that were promised, there's a lot of people who are wondering, hold on, didn't they say your game is a link? And absolutely they did. Now, a Reddit user, Nightlight5953, found this, and I thought that this was just awesome. Did you guys know that our games are just links? Like, that's already a thing. In fact, I'm going to put the Destiny 2 link in the description down below, and you can click that and start your game right from there. In fact, I'm going to show you right here. It says Destiny 2, and it's got the link to that game, and I can click on it and start the game, or I can right click on it and open in Stadia. So let's go ahead and click on it, and it starts up in Stadia just like it does any other time. It's going to log me in. It's going to get the game going. It's going to go full screen, and I can either click back to game or exit game. I'm going to click exit game because I don't actually want to start the game right now, and then I'll close that. But this is really cool. I'm gonna drop these some of these links in the description down below, and I just wanted to let you guys know that it's here. It's like I anticipate very soon that on YouTube we're going to see a button at the end of a video that you can click that will take you to Destiny. Now, we don't have that yet, but instead you can go down to the description and click that link and start playing Destiny 2 right now if you want. Speaking of clicking on things on YouTube, you know what you got to do. You got to click on that thumbs up button. You got to click subscribe and click the bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.